My husband's 38M. Increasing franticness about having kids is making me 33F, not want them at all. Married 3 years, 33F and 38M. When we first got together, we were both pretty neutral on the topic of kids, with me leaning more, no, and him finding the idea intriguing but not necessary for happiness. We both have fertility issues, so it seemed unlikely to happen anyway unless we made a major effort and got medical treatments. 1 year into our marriage, I had a pregnancy scare that turned out to be a late period due to stress rather than an actual pregnancy. During the time I thought I might be pregnant though, something flipped in my husband and he got super excited and thought it would be great to start a family. When my period came, we agreed to not try, but not prevent, my perspective being that if a baby manages to claw its way here through our fertility issues, then it must be fate or something. But the idea of actively trying and pursuing fertility treatments sounded terrible to me, and I've just never had a desire for parenthood or pregnancy or anything related to kids in general. Over the course of the past year, my husband has become more and more obsessed with the idea of having kids, and eventually realized he would feel completely unfulfilled and depressed for the rest of his life if it doesn't happen. My feelings haven't changed one bit, but it became clear that we either try to have a kid, whether bio or through adoption, or we part ways. After much talking, I conceded that it sounded better to be an old person who has a family than an old person who's child-free, and chose to stay with him and give it an all-college try, with some boundaries up front that he agreed to. Those being, I don't want to do IVF or anything where I have to take medication or hormones. I need him to promise to start cleaning if we have a kid. He currently does literally no cleaning, and I need our life with a child to also allow me to continue my career, which is my personal source of joy and happiness and fulfillment. We agreed to give me the rest of this year, 2023, to continue building my career and getting some certificates before starting things like intrauterine insemination and going to adoption agencies. This was very important to me, since I've only recently gotten to a point in life where certain career things are possible, better finances allowing for entrepreneurship. With each day that goes by, my husband is freaking out more and more that we aren't already trying to conceive. He wants to make sure we have a kid in some form before he turns 40. Either incubating in me or coming home from an adoption agency. He says the timeline we have, starting as the new year turns, is the very upper edge of what he's comfortable with, and that is making a huge sacrifice by giving me the rest of this year before we start pursuing conception. Having a kid is all he can think about and he feels completely preoccupied by it, with the feeling getting worse each day. A few nights ago, he said that as soon as the new year comes, he wants 100% of our time to go into trying to conceive, researching kid things, researching adoption agencies, going to adoption counselors, etc., and that he doesn't want to do anything fun whatsoever until I'm either pregnant or we've adopted, because we don't deserve fun until we have this figured out. We had a few events sprinkled throughout the year we were planning on going to that I consider really good for our relationship, due to the connection, bonding time, and he unilaterally cancelled all of them because he wants to focus on conception. I told him the picture he's painting sounds so awful and stressful that it will probably make it harder to get pregnant, if anything. He said there's no other choice and this is just the way it's going to be until we have a kid. Nearly all of our fights are over this one topic now, and it's exhausting. He views me as selfish for not wanting to get started right away, is upset that I'm not on the same page as him yet, and has recently even started saying things like, the goals I have, career-wise, are meaningless and nothing matters in life except having a child and raising it into a good human. My work is my way of giving back to humanity, and brings me so much fulfillment. To have it be called meaningless by my partner was so hurtful. Before he started escalating the pressure for all this, I was starting to warm up to the idea in a much bigger way and was even starting to feel some excitement. Now that he's being so pushy with it, and making decisions without involving me in the dialogue, like cancelling our plans for next year, I just feel nauseated by the whole thing. Neither of us want to get divorced. Even if we did, he doesn't have enough time to find someone else and reproduce with him in the timeline is demanding. I brought up couples therapy and is open to it, but from the angle of trying to get me to change my mind so that we can start sooner, rather than him trying to manage his anxiety around his 40th birthday deadline. How do we find a way for him to calm down enough for me to rekindle my own excitement and turn this into a joyful journey instead of a stressful, fight-filled one? TLDR, my 33F husband, 38M, has baby fever and is putting tons of pressure on us having a kid before he turns 40, which is complicated by the fact that we both have fertility issues. He wants to forego anything fun and basically abandon the things we do as a couple until we have a kid. I'm getting incredibly stressed by the pressure he's putting on, and it's turning me off to even wanting a kid at all. How do we work through being on such different pages so that we can feel like a team instead of like we're constantly fighting each other? And #X200B, *edit, **, wow this blew up. So I definitely haven't been able to answer most of the comments, but I've read every one of them and am extremely grateful for the input, and the time everyone took to give me feedback on the situation. It's given me a ton to think about. I'm realizing this has less to do with prospect of having a child, and more to do with other issues in the relationship that haven't been addressed, and that leave me feeling less than secure on a daily basis. I feel like we really need to focus becoming stronger and on the same page as a couple. Without that level of security in place, I can't even picture having a child. That is a huge block in this whole process, which seems obvious now. Many people accurately pointed to the reality that I really just don't have a desire for a child, and I'm trying to rewire my feelings in a way that allows my husband and I to still have a future together. I feel a sense of obligation to my husband for things he's done to help me throughout our relationship, especially financially, and as a result, feel like if one of us needs to give up something, it should be me at this point. But that probably isn't true, especially when the thing being affected is another life. I think it's possible I'll want a child in the future, but the state of my life right now just doesn't feel like it has space for it, so the pressure coming from my husband translates to a sense of dread around the whole thing. His deadline feels like a death sentence I'm slowly marching towards. Nothing about the future feels exciting or joyful, just depressing and stressful. I'm realizing we need to back way up and focus on our relationship before we can even discuss a child. Which won't be what my husband wants to hear, for sure, and he might not be willing to do, because he thinks things are as good as they need to be between us, and me dragging my feet on a child is out of stubbornness or trying to control him. So I have to brace for the possibility that we just aren't looking for the same level of stability in our relationship. Next step will be going to couples therapy. I'm a little scared because it might reveal that we really just aren't compatible in the long term. But obviously how things are going right now is just bringing enormous stress. I get anxiety almost daily around the whole thing, and my relationship is now the biggest source of stress in my life, so something has to change, one way or another. I'll post an update after we go to therapy, or whatever next thing happens. Thank you all again.
This is not a we as a him needs to be in therapy by himself, not with you.
Thank you. I want to go to therapy too because I have a lot of fears surrounding parenthood and even the process of being pregnant, so it seemed like a good idea for us together. He already said that if a therapist tells him to change anything about how he's feeling, he's not going to listen. This is just the way it is and will be until we have a kid.
Greater than he already said that if a therapist tells him to change anything about how he's feeling, he's not going to listen. This is just the way it is and will be until we have a for fucks. You think you're gonna be able to negotiate that?
There is just so much going around kids for him that it's not fair on you or a kid. It's like you and an unborn person have high expectations put on you already. It's unpleasant. He needs to go to therapy and sort it out. And there is absolutely another choice. Him not liking it does not make it disappear.
Info: has he started cleaning now? If he can't even start cleaning now, you're in for having 2 kids to pick up after if you have a child with him.
Thank you so much. I'm almost crying reading this because I thought I was just going crazy and maybe I'm being the unreasonable one. There are just so many things. He has such an idealized view of what parenthood would be. We constantly butt heads when I bring up likely realities, like sleep deprivation and the fact that no, we probably won't be able to take care of a baby while working from home like he has in his dream bubble. It just feels like a mess and he is not willing to do the things that would help it be less of a mess. Sad face. We literally get in fights where he ends up giving me the silent treatment and sleeping on the couch when I bring up the possibility of him becoming less anxious and more patient. He's just not having it. Our fights are the same thing each time, where they only end once I apologize and he thanks me for apologizing. He tries once in a while, like he'll bring a plate into the kitchen that's dirty, and leave it in the sink for me to wash, but I still do it. He said he'll help more if I ask, but I don't want to create a dynamic where I'm the one nagging and he's oblivious that the house is a mess.
IDK, ask a friend to lend her baby to babysit for some 6H and hand it over to him. Maybe he doesn't know how real babies behave. Maybe he expects you to shoulder all the care? But definitely he needs a reality check. Babies are hard work.
He should start preparing for a baby by taking on all household chores, cleaning. Not because he'll do 100% of them if you do have a kid, of course you'd both pitch in, but it'll give him a good idea of what's required. He might have to do everything if, for X, you have a difficult pregnancy or longer recovery time, and it'll take him mind off of freaking out. Tell him he can start tomorrow.
Thank you, that's a great idea. I'm terrified of the baby phase, but he says he's looking forward to the challenge and novelty of it.
You think you can talk him out of being abusive?
First off, you know your husband isn't going to start cleaning if while have a child, right? He's not doing it now, and it's a lot harder to start a new habit when you're sleep deprived and getting used to a new lifestyle. He's not gone at it, mans need therapy. He clearly has some very specific ideas of parenthood built up in his mind, and it's going to crush him when, inevitably, things are different. He's also being a complete to you and acting like having a child is the only important thing in the world. You don't deserve good things. Until you're able to get pregnant or adopt a child. That's unhealthy as. I feel like this man must be having some internal struggle or some other issues and is pinning his future happiness fully on a baby, which just doesn't work. He needs treatment for his depression or whatever may be going on, not the thankless sounding, constant responsibility of an infant.
Your husband has gone off the deep end. His actions are bizarre, selfish, and controlling, and it's not acceptable. Your husband is not capable of or interested in being a good partner to you, period. He literally said neither of you deserve fun until you're pregnant, and unilaterally cancelled all your plans. That level of control is literally abusive. I want you to think about how he's going to act if you get pregnant. If it's selfish of you to care about your career now, that's only going to escalate. It will be selfish of you to spend time working when you could be doing like prenatal yoga or whatever he decides is important. This is the kind of guy who is going to insist on controlling every single thing you eat, because it's selfish of you to eat anything that isn't 100% optimal for the baby. He doesn't even see you as a person right now. He sees you as the incubator for his child. I am someone who currently doesn't have kids but wants them very much, for context. And I don't find any of your husband's attitudes or actions justifiable. Baby fever doesn't cover it. There's nothing you alone can do to make your husband into a different person than the one he is. In my opinion, you ought to leave before he completely destroys your life with his controlling behavior.
Greater than he doesn't even see you as a person right now. He sees you as the incubator for his for emphasis.
Holy op, that is not trying. I'm not even trying to be mean here. If this is what effort looks like for your husband, I'm hard-pressed to imagine someone less suited to partner with for child raising.
But it's not reversible. If you find a challenge too much or novelty vanishes after 2 months of feeding, bathing, changing nappies and a schedule, you can't pack a baby and post it back. It's not a game that you can switch off and go have rest.
Don't deserve fun. This has gone beyond the baby rabies and into some kind of manic episode or other type of mental health crisis emo. He is having some kind of serious issue that is manifesting as baby obsession, but could just as easily have been about something else. Don't have a baby until he's in some kind of therapy or treatment for it.
Silent treatment. Is he 38 or 8? If a man won't work on himself, you shouldn't stick around and wait for him, IMO.
I agree, that's not trying at all. Tell him you need a fair division of labor in the household before you can move forward with even considering expanding your family. If he's going to put so much pressure on you, he needs to work doing his part in the household. If he doesn't, you'll be stuck with a baby you weren't 100% sure you wanted and all the difficult and sometimes disgusting responsibilities that come with raising a child.
I think you should part ways, and if he can't have a kid by 40, then maybe that's a good thing for society at large. This guy is yikes on several bikes and will not be a good partner and father.
The worst part of all of this. Op doesn't even really want volunteering to have kids because he wants them.
Greater than I need him to promise to start cleaning if we have a kid. He currently does literally no cleaning. I assure you, that's not going to happen.
Holy op, this is a seriously scary read. It seems like this man just sees you as an incubator for his idealized version of parenthood. Please don't become one of those couples that has a kid trying to save their marriage. Cause of isn't healthy before you bring a kid into the mix. You're asking for disaster.
He would make an absolutely terrible father. For your potential children's sake, consider if he can raise emotionally healthy children.
You absolutely should not have a baby with a man who can't wash a dish without being told to. With a baby, there will just be more and more things to do that conveniently not know about without being told. He shouldn't be helping you with the house that he also lives. Way that he's pressuring you and pushing past your set boundaries is already a big scary red flag, but he's also really making it clear he's not going to do the work when things are. Isn't a bad idea if you want to try to make things work, but you can't go into it with him just wanting you to change your mind. Do you want to have a family with someone who bulldozes you into getting his way? Do you think treat your child as my way or the highway as he's treating you? Is a child going to not deserve fun when their grades are bad? He's being a bad partner to you in ways that make me worry he'd also be a bad parent. Please reconsider doing this much work for him.
Greater than maybe I'm being the unreasonable one. The only person you're being unreasonable towards is yourself. You are planning to have a baby you admit you don't really want to have with someone who has become extremely controlling and abusive. That is not okay.
Nope, this ain't it. It sounds like you don't even want kids, and this guy is giving you the silent treatment when you ask him to be more patient. I'm sorry, he is not the one for you and you deserve better.